Let's head straight out into the campaign trail now. Both leaders are beginning their day in Queensland. They'll soon be heading in different directions, though. Andrew Green joins us now. He's with the Prime Minister, and Matt Doran is, of course, with the opposition leader. Guys, good morning and nice to see you both. Andrew, we'll start with you this morning. This is a clear policy difference between the two sides. So how's Malcolm Turnbull going to deal with this RBA memo?
Certainly is, Virginia. It's something that Labor has been using to try to paint Malcolm Turnbull as looking after the big end of town. And there has been a clear policy difference between the two sides ever since Labor announced its policy on negative gearing. Took a while for the government to find its mark on the opposition, but has in very recent times been warning of property collapses and plummeting house prices and that sort of thing. Now, these RBA minutes, these internal memo that was written in December 2014, I believe, that will be something that Labor will seize on today, and questions are very likely to be asked to Malcolm Turnbull as he gets about campaigning in Brisbane this morning. I'm sure that the Prime Minister will face a number of questions on this, but the government already in its early stages through the ministers are dismissing the contents of that memo.
Just before we get to Matt Doran for his view on all of this, Andrew, after just day one, is it possible to characterise the tone, the nature, the approach of this election campaign and the differences you might see with the previous Prime Minister, Tony Abbott?
Look, I think in the very early stages of this campaign, both leaders are still trying to find their mark. There was a bit of shadow boxing yesterday, I think, as both leaders took a very low-key approach. You didn't see the full-on attacks that I'm sure will emerge in the later weeks. Both leaders are still, they're unknown and untested quantities in an election. Both of them are yet to face a campaign like this. So I think the tone will change in coming weeks, but certainly there is a difference between the campaigning style of Malcolm Turnbull and Tony Abbott. Tony Abbott, by now we would have seen him on a jog or probably in the gym with his advisors. Certainly we're not seeing that kind of colourful campaign from Malcolm Turnbull, a far steadier, more traditional approach, I'd suggest.
Andrew, thank you. Matt, we are, however, seeing the opposition leader out jogging. In fact, there's a newspaper story around that today about how Bill Shorten has got himself together and lost weight and is exercising much more vigorously. The other key policy difference there is one that Bill Shorten will be keen to prosecute today, which is education.
That's right. The Labors definitely see education and health as their two main policies, their two main policy strengths. And this morning we've seen some modelling released by the Labor Party showing how much money each electorate around the country would be better off under their plan for schools funding. Labor has committed to $4.5 billion as part of that Gonski school funding package by the year 2018-2019, whereas the Coalition has committed $1.2 billion through to the end of this decade. And Labor is going through and outlining all of these figures to try and make out their case that that schools will be better off under their plan. And it's interesting to note that some of the electorates that are standing to gain the most, according to Labor, are electorates here in North Queensland, here in Herbert, where we are in the city of Townsville. Labor says that Herbert schools would be $48 million better off. Leichhardt, around the city of Cairns, where we were yesterday, stands to be around $50 million better off. So as well as looking at Queensland as a whole as definitely an electoral battleground here, also trying to tie it in with those key policies of education.
And just very quickly, how do you think the offer from the Greens might be received to prop up Labor in a minority government if needed?
I don't think it would have gone down too well when that was made on the Q&A program last night. Of course, it is a key issue that the Coalition uses to attack Labor on, the fact that when Labor and the Greens were in that minority coalition, they did indeed, the Coalition argues it was quite a dysfunctional time for Australian politics. So I doubt Labor would be too keen about seeing that issue, that ghost of government's past, raise its head again.
All right, good to talk to you this morning, Matt. Thanks so much. And Andrew, good to chat with you this morning too. We'll speak to you later.